Alex Davis.
Thank you for having me back again.
Absolutely. Alex is literally family, and family to Life Uncensored specifically. And we like to have Alex come in and talk about what he does, his business, the Misfit, and what inspired him. Because I really like the idea of making sure that young entrepreneurs such as Alex, now 23 years old, who started this brand again in 2021, is that they're really spotlighted, right? And so this is a very important topic to me because as a mom, I see the hustle, I see the grind, I see the late nights, I see the thought process, I see all the stuff. And so talking to you today, Alex, is going to be really informative, not only for our listeners and our audience, but for me too, right? Mm-hmm. So listen, let's jump right into it, okay? Let's go all the way back to the beginning. You started this brand in your bedroom in Centerville, Virginia in 2021, and it's grown and expanded, and it's become what it is today. But before you started your ISO shops, you were visiting and vending at different pop-up shops around the area, and not just our area, but New York, Pennsylvania, and DC as well. So let's talk a little bit about what made you start the ISO.
Well, like you said, before I like to hit the clothing events everywhere, and I started the ISO because I don't like waiting around. I love to have my stuff out there as much as possible, and I was getting tired of waiting around for the rotation of some of the traveling shops coming to our area, or just even our local shops being consistent with having something going. So I wanted to have my own shop. And then at that, I'm not to say in competition, but I'm not surrounded by other brands. It kind of gives me a chance to how do I say? It kind of gives me like more of an honest audience, mm-hmm. People who actually want to come specifically for my brand and not just people who happen to see me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, you wanted to be the spotlight of the event, so people could focus on what you had to offer. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
I love it. So with that being the case, what was the mindset shift that you had to have to level up to do your own ISOs? Because that had to be a mindset shift, right?
Yeah, definitely had. A big mindset shift was how much I had to advertise, mm-hmm. instead of just posting somebody else's flyer that's already pre-made like mm-hmm. a couple times a week, or leading up to me having to make videos and unique flyers every single day leading up. And also understanding that I'm not just setting up one rack or two, and I would have to have a team. So because I'm bringing all of my clothes, I'm not just bringing 2 hanger racks worth of shirts and shorts.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Your entire inventory.
Yeah. The whole thing.
Yeah. So what do you feel like was the biggest lesson that you learned from running your own ISOs? Some things that you may have had to face the hard way, and some things that you're just like, oh, I never thought of that. I know for next time.
Once again, really the advertising portion of it, because since it's just me, I'm responsible for how many people come in. So if it's just me in there, like let's say I don't have a team or anything, if it's just me, I have to be inside the shop. I can't be outside passing out my flyers. Maybe everybody hasn't been on social media to see my new update of when the time is or where exactly to meet me at the spot. And also just being prepared as far as like if somebody comes in and buys something, me remembering to scratch that off the inventory, having to do the inventory updates live on the spot, and not just doing an inventory sweep later on. Mm-hmm. Just trying to have to be on spot with that, because I might sell something in person at the shop, and I might same day have somebody try to buy the same item in that size online.
Oh, so having to keep up with the inventory in real time.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, like you said, because people are shopping simultaneously. Somebody could be in California shopping online, and you're having to move quickly to make those updates. So the shopper online isn't disappointed as well as your in-person shoppers.
right.
Do you think that the marketing piece of it, I know you said that was probably the hardest part that you hadn't considered in the beginning. Do you feel like you have a better handle on it now, like in terms of when, how much, and how to market?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And let me also say, even though it's the hardest part, it was my favorite part to do more of the advertising, and just because it forces me to get creative with like flyer designs and how I can word things,
Yeah.
ways I can send it instead of just posting it, sending out bulk emails or bulk text messages.
Yeah.
But I definitely think I'm way better at it now than the first time. The first time it was literally something brand new every single day.
Mm-hmm.
But now I kind of have a better way of balancing it. Like one day it might be a video, the next day it might be a flyer, the next day it might be a countdown, like this many days until, things like that.
Do you feel like you saw a return on your time investment by having different marketing tactics? Like, do you feel like, just for example, I don't know, the flyers gave you more visibility and more customers than, let's say, a video? Like, was there anything like that that you feel like one thing worked better than another thing?
I think spreading it out instead of just doing, like I said before, when I was just doing a post every single day, I think spreading out as far as doing different types of countdowns or videos and flyers, I think that helped out a lot more because, even just the algorithm of the internet, people seeing a feed post versus seeing a reel versus seeing a TikTok versus seeing an email or a text message.
Got you. No, that makes perfect sense. And listen, I want the audience to know that you single-handedly were coming up with these ideas. After you came up with these ideas, like for the flyers, for example, you would come and, get thoughts, and opinions from folks like me, Pops, your friends, whoever. But that was really, I want the audience to know that was really all you. Like, you were coming up with the concepts, the ideas, and then bringing them to fruition. And I think that's an important piece of this conversation with, like you said, the wins, the setbacks, and just the hustle in general, that you had that creativity, you had that spark that when you wanted to do it, when it came to, there were times where you would leave out in the morning and call me and be like, oh, I just had an idea, and we would talk about it later on in the evening. So that's part of it too. And I think that's a big thing, that it's, your mind is always going. It doesn't rest.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a difference between having a brand and building a business.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like anybody can have a business. I feel like anybody can have a brand, but it takes a lot of hard work and thought and effort to have both. What are your thoughts about those two things?
I think it's important to differentiate them, like having, how do I say this? Like having a business is more like the numbers and the talks with the manufacturer and the inventory sweeps and the, setting up shops. But then the brand is more so like the vibrant clothes, the signature logos, the anonymous mask and the scythe, kind of more of the reputation of the business. Mm-hmm. The brand is, and I think they're both equally important, but some people it's different. Like some people, the person is the brand. That's not the case for me. The characters and the cartoons and the clothes is more the brand.
Gotcha. And I like that you say that. And I think that it's, I don't know. And again, this is me from the outside speaking. I know that to you, Alex isn't the brand. The brand is the brand. But to the outsiders, you are the brand. You represent the brand. You know, you daily are walking around in your, like right now, right?
Yeah.
Daily, no matter where you're going, you're walking around in your brand. When you're having conversations with people, you're talking about the brand. And even, you know, it's just casual conversations. A lot of times it's not even like a pitch, so to speak. It just comes up because somebody will ask you about the clothes or, you know, something that you have on or whatnot. And I think that though you don't feel like, oh, I am the brand, I think it's important for you to know that you actually are, but I like your mentality because you feel like it's not about me. It's about what I'm trying to put out into the world. So I think that's a great mindset for how you feel about the branding of the Misfit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why the Misfit LLC? Like, why that name? What does it really mean to you? And to the people who who've been rocking with your brand, like, what does the Misfit mean?
The Misfit really transformed meanings over time. At first, it was just because it was just me. It was like not really like a one-man band, but like a kind of a solo mission. It was kind of like an arc I was on, and you know, being different, having like a different path other than, you know, starting college or having an ideal career space to go into. And now it's kind of transformed more into, you know, being a misfit in a positive light, like as far as vibrant clothes instead of like, you know, it's a lot of like big brands that are more just like black and white or not like colorless, but you know, not as super vibrant. You don't see a lot of stuff like the fire on the wrist or the super cartoony letters or the really graphic clothes and the animated characters. It was more about standing out as a misfit, but in a positive light, because being a misfit, people might see that as like, you know, like a not even like an oxymoron, but you know, kind of having like a negative, like relatable streetwear aspect to it. It's not that. It's about being a standout in a positive way, and anybody can be a misfit.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. So being a misfit, not necessarily meaning being rebellious, or not being rebellious in a bad way, but being a misfit meaning rebelling against the norm.
Yeah.
Doing something different, purposefully being different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. And, you know, some of the folks who are listening and or watching Hear the Misfit, and they go back to my time, right, where there was claymation Christmas movies, such as Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the song "We're a Couple of Misfits."
Yeah.
And there's all the misfit toys that, you know, were broken for whatever reason. The Jack in the Box that didn't work, the doll that didn't work, you know, all the misfit toys or whatnot. And I like to liken what you just said to that, because in that cartoon depiction of the misfit toys, quote unquote, the whole premise was they're not like the other toys, but they're just as good, and in some cases even better.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're different. You know, and I think that's your brand. The Misfit is, you're right in line not only with style, but quality. I think that's important to talk about. The quality of your clothing stands out, and you know, again, is in line with these other brands that we see, Reebok, Nike, whatever you want to call it. And in a lot of cases, even better because it's different. Yeah. So I like what you're saying. I like what you're saying. I want to take a quick commercial break and then come back and continue this conversation, because I have some other questions I think our audience really is going to want to hear the answers to. So we'll be back in just a minute with more The Misfits.
Take charge of your financial future with our Take charge of your financial future with our interactive workbooks, The Basics of Financial Literacy, A Healthy Money Mindset, and The Basics of Financial Literacy, A Healthy Money Mindset for Teens and Young Adults. Now available on Amazon. Dive into practical exercises and start building a solid financial foundation today. I'm Amanda Lockhart Davis, founder of Jax Consulting Services, bringing over 25 years of industry experience to our multifaceted consulting firm. With a passion for strategic problem solving and unmatched customer service, we have crafted the firm to offer a wide range of consulting services. From financial management and strategic planning to educational workshops and specialized notarization services, Jax Consulting Services is dedicated to supporting the diverse needs of our clients. Leveraging extensive experience across various sectors, we stand ready to guide your business toward success. That's Jax Consulting Services. Visit us on the web at www.jax-consulting.com.
We are back with Alex Davis, founder of the Misfit. We have been having a pretty good conversation. He's really shedding some light, for me, especially on some of the things that he's dealing with behind the scenes, as pertains to having his own brand and business. So, Alex, I would like for you at this point to paint a picture for us, so to speak. What do you feel has been one of the toughest moments in your journey that people never see on social media?
I think I said this last time, but the tariffs.
Oh, yeah.
The tariffs and just the tariff laws between us and Pakistan, where my manufacturer is, kind of not necessarily slowing things down, but literally changing the entire process. So me not being able to just be fronted closed and then pay it off now, having to have everything up front for my man, having to also now I have to connect with the customs, like the in-between station when it reaches the United States. And then obviously the raise in the cost for the clothes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think also it's good to point out that some of the behind the scenes stuff, because I do agree, I think that's probably, and there have been a lot of different things, but I agree that that's probably one of, if not the toughest thing. But I think it's good to point out too, some of the behind the scenes things that happen are delayed shipments. Like you expect them by such and such time, but for whatever reason, one time it was weather. I think it was a hurricane or something that paused shipments. And it might be weather. It could be a number of things. So when somebody's expecting something by a certain time, you got somebody who ordered something for Christmas and your shipment didn't come in timely, like that, I know gets under your skin. Even though you understand it's the nature of the beast, it still is disappointing to you as the brand owner, right? So, or something that's a little bit lighter, but still a thing. You mentioned earlier about your inventory.
Yeah.
Somebody reaches out, they're super excited about X piece, and you go through your inventory and you realize, crap, I don't have their size. So talk a little bit to the audience about that piece of it, like that process when you find out shipping is delayed. Now what do? I have to pivot. I have to call somebody or reach out to somebody and give them the disappointed, or we don't have the size that you tried to order because the person who tried to order it online doesn't know that the person in front of you just bought that same size. So talk a little bit about that piece of the business.
Yeah, that's really tough because I really don't like breaking promises to customers. And, of course I can always back order, but I don't like waiting. I like to be really fast on my inputs, and I don't want somebody to lose interest in the piece by then, whether they had already prepaid for it to come in or not. It's just, it's definitely tough.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even like I said, even though you understand, some things are just out of our control, it doesn't make it less frustrating or less annoying.
Yeah, it's all a part of the game.
Yeah.
And like you said, I definitely understand it. It's just, like I said, I love to, especially knowing how much people are invested, like how much of a community I actually have now.
Yeah.
It's way different than super early on in the business where, there was an understanding, like I'm still kind of fresh in it. At this point, I have so many people who like to get stuff, and that still feels good, but I think it just goes into me trying my hardest to be there for every single customer, and have it exactly how they want it. Even if it's not ASAP, I'm trying to make it happen as soon as possible. Sometimes I might pay extra to get the process sped up to get things shipped in on Express, even if that goes into my pockets or however. It doesn't really bother me because I like to have this stuff in. I like to have the customer satisfied wearing the stuff.
Yeah.
Even if it's not for them, it might be a gift for somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just actually reminded me of something. I think it was a few days ago, maybe about a week ago, you came to me and you showed me that somebody random who you have never met, you don't know who it is, was wearing one of your pieces. I believe I feel like it was a full zip hoodie that they were wearing. What does that feel like for you when just you're going about your random day and you see that this is not a person I met at a pop-up shop. This is not friend or family. This is not, a friend of a friend. I've never met this person. And they're not even in my area.
Mm-hmm.
How does it feel for you to encounter that?
It feels good, but it feels unreal because like I said, I always think about early on, I was able to pinpoint every single customer I had before. But now when I have nowadays, when there's website orders going from state to state, like New York, California, I had somebody from Arizona the other week. It's just crazy to think that I was able to have that much of an impact. The thing I was showing you, it was somebody who was wearing my original full zip hoodie on TikTok. It was their profile picture.
Yeah.
And it was somebody I've never met before. I didn't ask them for any promo or any pictures. I didn't even follow them. They didn't even follow me.
Yeah. You just was scrolling and boom.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that it made me feel good. It was like, oh my gosh. And it reminded me of our trip to California. Even then, when we were in California, the whole family was out. And, we go through a line or something like that, turn around, and we don't have the whole family with us. Where's Jonathan? Oh, he back there talking to somebody because they asked him because he was wearing one of your pieces. Or he had a backpack on that you were selling or something like that. And they're asking him about it all the way in California. And I feel like that is a testament to quality over quantity. Now, what I mean by that is things that you get fast, oh yeah, this money came fast, or this thing happened so fast. That's not quality. But over time, the more you build, the more you put into it, you start to see the residuals of that. And I feel like that was an example of that. You've been putting stuff out into the world for a long time. And to see that, randomly, again, just randomly scrolling through your feed, that was awesome. I feel like it was a really good return. Yeah. Time investment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I asked this question because I don't know, just really want to understand and get into in your mind as a young person, as an entrepreneur, what your thoughts are, right? So you're a young entrepreneur. Do you feel like there are people out there who underestimate you in any way? And how do you respond to that kind of energy?
Underestimate me? No, I wouldn't say that because I feel like a lot of the clothes kind of speak for themselves. But I think it does surprise a lot of people when they find out like how old I am or how old I was when I started it.
Definitely.
But I don't think unless I just can't think of anything right now, I don't think I've had anybody necessarily underestimate me, like assume that my stuff wouldn't be quality because of how old I am or where I'm from, whatever the reason might be. But it definitely does surprise a lot of people.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, I've been present a few times where, guys, women, old, young, black, white, whatever, you're talking to them and they maybe reach out and feel, something that you have on a hanger rack, right? And oh my gosh, this quality is amazing. And then the conversation starts. Man, how old are you? Oh, I'm 23. What? Oh, what? Like, you're right. People are very surprised by how old you are, and then how old you were when you started the business and how good it's going, the quality of material that you're showcasing. People are very surprised at that combination of things. I'd love to hear, especially when it's, I don't know, it's something different when it's a guy my age range, maybe a little older, and they're just like, you keep this up, this is great. You make sure you keep pushing, you keep doing this. That encouragement, hearing that coming from men specifically from different walks of life. And we've heard women say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, for me as your mom, hearing men say that it's something special. It's something, I just feel like women, because they're emotional creatures, they think, oh, that's so cute. Oh, I'm something, yeah, keep it up. But I think coming from a man who's more of a logical creature, they're like, man, this material is good. He's young. I like the style. I like the quality of the merchandise. Yeah, you keep this going. You're gonna go somewhere. I feel like that's just really great. Do you feel like there's a difference in like where the praises and the encouragement comes from? Do you feel different when one person, age, gender, or whatever, versus another? Did you compliment?
No, I don't feel it. It always feels good, but I do understand what you're saying because it'll be people I've never met or I've never talked to who will come and we'll meet them for the first time and they'll start telling me how proud they are of me.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels really good, especially probably the older people, because people around my age will probably like the style already, might be a little more in tune, but the older people, it definitely feels good because they've seen a lot more life and some people will tell me that they wish that they would have started back then or started at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's always encouraging. It lets me feel like I'm moving in the right way and I'm not pushing anything negative. Like I like specifically for my stuff to be ageless.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, I remember very specifically, it was over the summer, or spring. There was a pop-up shop and there was an older woman and she was wheelchair bound. Mm-hmm. But when she saw your stuff on the hangers, she made whoever who was with her, like she beelined over to you and she didn't care how much. She was just like, oh, okay, you got my size? Oh yeah. And then she was like, oh, how much?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's the other thing that's good about the Misfit is that it's for all ages. Now you'll have somebody be like, oh, I'm too old for that or whatever, and that's fine. That's their style and that's their business. But I've been out, wearing, like I had on, like right now I got on the black tech, but I remember I had on the pink tech. I was just at the CVS, and this lady was in line ahead of me, and I guess while she was kind of looking around, she waited for me to come out the store. She was like, this is nice. Can you touch on it? And I was like, yeah, it's my son's brand. And she was like, really? Can I get this information? And she was quite a bit older than me, an older white lady, and she's like this, and she wasn't even talking about like, oh, for my grandson or something like that. She was talking about for herself.
Yeah.
So I like that your brand, your designs are reaching different ages, different colors, different sexes. Like you're reaching, and I feel like that's more than half the battle when you have a clothing brand. So with that, my next question to you is about, there's been talk about you have your Junior Misfit line. Is there anything that you wish you did when you first started, before Junior Misfits came out? Do you feel like there's anything you wish you had done differently as it pertains to Junior Misfits compared to now what you're doing?
I don't think so. I think everything rolled out pretty well. It was like the first batch of full zips or text, whatever was super early on. It was kind of like it was a preview because some of this stuff was made for the younger kids. Like I love when people would come to me at pop-ups before I had the youth stuff, asking when the youth stuff was on the way, and then it had to inspire me to create an entire Junior Misfits youth theme drop, and now every drop has something for the youth included in it. I honestly wouldn't change anything about it, and I don't know. I feel like it also made me get more creative with it. When I didn't have the youth stuff early on, I had the people coming up asking me about the kids' clothes, and it kind of forced me to get more creative with the designs or what the characters were doing on the clothes, like more action stuff, more fun stuff, and even just still the same exact classic clothes, just in smaller sizes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk more about the pop-ups themselves, the ISO pop-ups specifically. I want you to kind of give some behind the scenes descriptions of what it's like from planning, several days before, leading up to the day of, setting up the shop, the breakdown. Talk through, tell the audience what it takes for the ISO shop to run.
Yeah. Well, it starts off like I probably secure my space for the ISOs at least 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time. So it starts off with advertising daily. I have reminders in my phone to brainstorm a new flyer for the day or a new video or a new countdown. So it starts with that, leading up for a couple of weeks. And then on the ISO day is probably not the most hectic, probably not until we're inside, but having to grab my entire inventory, because it's all in my room. Not just the inventory, but my mannequins, my hangers, having the whole family and family friends with me, loading up the car. Luckily, our usual space isn't too far from where we live, so that helps a lot. But then unloading the cars, unloading the hanger racks, the hangers, then setting everything up probably takes about maybe 2 hours at most. It's a lot of clothes. And then setting up isn't easy because everything has to be placed perfectly. I always have an idea written down of how I'm going to format my room, having which items on what racks and what specific spots, the checkout table, even just where everybody's going to stand at. Like I might not be in the seat at the register. I might be walking the floor. The family might be inside helping, showing people around, or they might be outside passing out flyers or showing off samples to get people into the spot. Then it's just sitting around in the shop, waiting for people to come in, and they usually end up flooding in. Then I have to turn on the customer skills at that point, showing people what they will like. If it's a kid, guide them to the kids section, trying to like get like a educated guess off like just the visual of the person to see what they might like or what they might not like. Asking people for their specific style. I might see somebody with a hat, or maybe the whole family has hats, maybe they like hats, and I'll guide them to that. Or somebody asks me about sweatpants or sweatsuits, I'll guide them to the tone shifts or the reprotects.
What I like about your answer is you just reminded me of, it was one gentleman, I can't remember which shop it was, which ISO it was, who came in and he was really, really hyped off the hats.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, what did he say? He was like, I need, was it the site? It was something specifically. He was like, I need you to get this, put this on the hat. It was one of your designs.
Yes.
He wanted that specific thing on the hat. What was it?
It was a flyer. The flyer that he got, he wanted the exact design that one of the characters was doing on the flyer on a hat.
Yes. He was so hyped about it.
Yeah.
But it's those kind of things that, whether or not you get a sale from those kind of interactions, the interactions themselves energize you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's one of those things that we talk about for days and weeks and months out. You know, that we're, oh my gosh, who's that crazy guy who was talking about such and such? But he was so hyped about getting that design. When those kind of things happen to you and someone asks, oh, do you have such and such? And you don't have it. Do you put that into your mental Rolodex for future drops? Or like, what do you do with that when people will ask you about something that you don't have?
Usually, if it's like one person, I don't think about it too much. I mean, of course, I still note down ideas that I feel like will be helpful in the future. But when it's like 2, 3, or 4 people, which happens a lot, then I'll try to incorporate that idea or a version of it into my next drop. And what I'll also do is up the amount of inventory that I will get for it. Because sometimes it's like, maybe it's not even an item that doesn't exist. It's probably an item that's sold out. Or maybe it's an item that exists, but the colorway doesn't exist yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Or the color's sold out too. Like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Got you. What I admire about you doing these pop-ups, you know, specifically these ISO pop-ups, is that you have a very clear vision on how you want it to go. However, if something happens outside your control, you have no problem pivoting and going with the flow and you know, going with the changes as they present themselves. And I think that's important, especially for young entrepreneurs to understand, is that things are not going to go 100% perfect at any point. I mean, can you name one ISO shop where you feel like everything went 100% perfect with no issue?
No.
But yet still you sell and we have a good time and, you know, things happen. So talk about that piece of it. When you have to pivot on a dime, something unexpected happens or something that you were expecting doesn't happen. What do you do with that? Like, what's your mindset? What do you do when you have to pivot?
Well, the mindset already is I never expect anything to go my way. And if it does, I treat it like a bonus. So I always just have things written out as if like, what would the perfect shop look like?
Okay.
And if something's going wrong, like maybe enough people aren't coming in or people aren't coming in timely, then we'll just up the amount of posts that I put out or flyers getting passed out, or maybe if a specific item's not selling as much as I wanted it to, then I could throw a sale on it. It's just about trying to keep things going, but still with a positive mindset behind it, but not stopping, because you literally only fail if you stop.
Absolutely. Do you have a time that you can think of off the top of your head where you just felt like really discouraged, like really disappointed about how something went, whether it was your own ISO or any other pop-up, that made you like make major changes, not just, okay, I'm gonna have to change up how I do one or two things, but like anything that would like disappoint you that made you make major changes that you can think of?
Maybe I'll say on my second ISO, it was really slow until like the final 2 hours, and then it like picked up a lot. It was basically like I'd sold all day anyway, how the profit came in, but just kind of like how I go about getting the word out to people to come through. You know, sometimes people will plan to have want to come to the shop, maybe they weren't able to, or somebody said that they would come back and buy something, but they didn't. I think really just getting the word out better and more efficiently. Like I said, not just spamming posts, but more creative ways of getting the info out there. I might have you post something, or I might send out a bulk message and ask people to share it around. So now it's not just my singular audience, but a whole bunch of different networks coming together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you just made me think of something. I know in the beginning, when you really started to take off, you were doing a lot of boosts, like on Instagram and other platforms. Alex putting on his CEO cap right now. What advice can you give to somebody who's watching this as a young entrepreneur as it comes to boosting posts on different platforms? The good, the bad, and ugly of it.
Well, what I would say to do as far as boosting or the paid ads for the posts, always focus it on one singular platform. Focus your boost on your best platform. You can still post on multiple platforms. Like for me, my best platform is Instagram. I still post on TikTok and Facebook or whatever, but I focus the ads on Instagram because that's where the most traction is from, and it's all going to spread out anyway eventually as you build the community. My other tip would be, if you have a business, you should also have a job too, because your business, especially in the beginning, isn't going to feed all the extra stuff like the ads and the materials, like, the hanger racks and the hangers and the flyers. But you should always be able to invest into your business. Your business, like, of course you could run your business without having a job. I just feel like there's no way you can fail if you have a consistent income to help out with your business. It's like a good way to just really stay consistent. And I always have it budgeted into my checks to have paid ads running, because that's what's going to help. Everybody's not in your area. Everybody's not in your algorithm. So sometimes you have to force feed it into somebody else's Explore page or their feed, or, maybe you're in somebody's mentions, or however. It's just really, really important. You look at every business, you're going to scroll through and see a sponsored post from McDonald's or, a Chick-fil-A or Marvel. Somebody always has a sponsored post line. So you should treat it like you're that level of a business, that you're having to push the stuff back, even though it might not come back immediately. It's going to come back eventually in sales as the community grows.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you said that. I had a conversation with someone a few weeks back that pretty much, I hear that same advice where you read about it in blogs and stuff like that. But I feel like for somebody who I can reach out and touch, who's doing it, to say it means that they've lived it and they see how it makes a difference. And that's, let your 9 to 5 or whatever, 10 to 6, whatever, your job fund your business. Let your job be your sponsor, so to speak, right? Your contributor, because like you said, there's going to be expenses that need to be taken care of that the business won't fund, especially early on. Eventually, but in the beginning, you want that steady paycheck, and we're saying steady. We've got a lot of stuff going on these days, but you want that steady paycheck to be able to budget, even if it's a small amount. It doesn't have to be anything crazy to help fund your business and do some of those extra things that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do right away.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your sponsored ads on Instagram have helped you get the reach? Like you said, for folks not in your area, maybe not automatically your algorithm, whatever. Do you feel like you have seen return on that investment?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Okay. Tell us what your followers are at now on Instagram.
Just the other day, like 2 days ago, we hit 10,000. So I'm somewhere between 10,000 and 10,050.
Yeah. And again, like I said earlier on in this conversation, part of that is the fact that quantity over quality. You're not trying to hurry up. You're actually putting the time and the effort, and you're nurturing your business, your brand, knowing that things are going to take some time to really get going. And you go from, all right, well, let me sign up for, to Instagram a couple of years ago to now I've got 10,000 followers. That's nothing to shake a stick at. That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I want you to give a little bit of advice in general for anybody thinking of starting a business, your age range, regardless of what it is, whether it's clothing, whatever the business is. What advice would you give that you wish that you could have given 19-year-old Alex when he started his business?
Some advice I'll probably give is to work at it every single day and to expect the slow weeks and months. Like I said, when the good stuff happens, you should just kind of take it as a bonus. But to kind of push your business with brute force, don't rely on anyone's help. Like I was saying, I didn't want to keep relying on other shops to announce their next pop-up, and I just started to do my own thing.
Yeah.
You just kind of have to brute force your way to do it, and to take it's going to be hard, but you have to take joy in the hard part. You have to make the effort part be what you get your dopamine from pushing through the slow weeks and still putting out ads anyway, or still creating forms of content anyway. You have to do it like there's nothing else that you want to do. And that's what it helps to do, something you enjoy doing, even if you don't thoroughly understand. And also to every day learn and relearn stuff, because it's easy for you to say you learn something one time, you could still fall off. You have to be willing to relearn the same stuff every day to kind of embed it in your brain or in your DNA. And it all goes back into consistency, but always focus on the tough parts. The tough parts is where the business grows.
Mm-hmm. I only have 2 more questions for you. My next question for you, because you said, don't rely on others. So, instead of waiting for the next pop-up to come around, you created your own space, which I think is brilliant. And I think it's a great piece of advice to give. A lot of things that people talk about, kind of, but I'll say this way: people mention, but they don't talk about. Is lack of, what's the word? Not care, but lack of support from those closest to you. I hear entrepreneurs talk about that all the time. Oh, I see my best friend they'll go support such and such an ice cream shop and spend all this money on such and such, but I open my own ice cream shop and they haven't been there once. All they do is give me a little congratulations. They won't even share my post or, things like that. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever had to, face that reality of entrepreneurship?
No, I don't like people who have that mindset. I don't, because you're not as good as the other people. Like,
You have to build to that.
Yeah, you have to get to that point to become the regular, to get the regular customers. You have to do it for years to be established and not established, but like vouched for, like to have the reputation of the good quality and the good product. So like the person who makes music, and they say people will listen to the people who are already in the industry but not their own thing. That's literally how it works. You haven't gotten there yet. It's not impossible to get there. It's just about, like I said, you have to brute force your way to it. I've never really had that. I mean, maybe I don't know anybody with clothing brands like that. I don't think I've ever went through that, saying like people will buy this stuff but not my stuff, because your stuff's supposed to be completely different anyway.
Yeah.
So I've always felt like my stuff was so different that somebody's gonna buy it anyway, because it's not the famous person or whoever stuff.
Yeah. And also support comes in many different ways, in my opinion, right? Support doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be that somebody invested. It doesn't have to be that somebody bought. It could be, word of mouth. It could be a shared post. It could be a like on a post, or a comment on a post. It could be, many things. So I think that's also part of it. Whenever I've heard those things or read about those types of, and I'm using the word complaint, maybe that's the wrong word to use, but, one of those complaints / gripes from entrepreneurs, it was mainly monetary, like, oh, they won't spend with me to help me, to support me, to help me get to a point where I'm boosted and I'm getting visibility, but they'll support strangers. And I think there's some truth to that, but I also feel like what you're saying, there's some reasoning behind it, not necessarily, they don't want to, they don't like your stuff, they don't, not a negative thing, but I do feel like there's deeper reasoning behind that. But that's why I say that there's other ways to support.
Yeah, exactly.
Other free ways to support. Maybe support means you just showed up to a pop-up and, made my table look full because there was a lot of people around it. Support can come in many ways. And I think that it's important that, entrepreneurs have that type of mindset as well, that they think of it that way. It might not be monetary. It might be someone coming to help set up a shop, but they didn't spend. It might be somebody coming to help break down the shop, like a post, share a post, and that is support. It's just in a different form.
Yeah, and I think maybe I just don't care as much about the money part of it, because like I usually say, if somebody comes to my table and they look through all the racks and they don't buy anything, but they take a business card, that feels like a sale to me.
Yeah.
And also, I think that just goes back to not relying on people. When I started a business, I didn't start thinking about how many people I know, or kind of adding up the money in my head before it started existing. I just feel like you have to get to the point to make stuff that people are kind of universally like anyway.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Misfit stands out, is that you started the Misfit because you wanted to start the Misfit, not because you want to become rich and famous. If it happens, great. But that wasn't your purpose. And I think that's where some businesses, in any industry, that's where some businesses fail. They're doing it for oh yeah, I can make me a fast buck if I do this, or I can get rich by doing that, as opposed to what is your actual passion? What do you love to do? And you love to be creative. And you're putting that creativity into your clothing brand. And I think that's what makes the Misfit stand out.
Yes.
Yeah. So where's the Misfit going next? You know, what can people expect from you? Like, what's your next chapter? What are the plans? What's the future hold?
This almost the same thing now. I'm planning out some new drops. I have some reflective suits coming early next year. I've got some pajamas, some new coat colorways. Just trying to get more, not more creative, but deeper into my creative bag. See how I can switch things up, have more things that can become even more universal that more people can like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really worried about like growing a follower count, even though that comes with it anyway, or getting a passive income, because that comes anyway with years of doing it. But just honestly staying creative, trying to get my stuff into more places, trying to travel to more places to expand the brand, posting a lot more content. I post a whole lot of content, but even just upping the scale on that as well. Just getting to more of a deeper into the creativity of everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have anybody you want to shout out? I know you've got a lot of different folks that support you in different regions and whatnot. Anybody you want to shout out?
Shout out to Uncle Boom. Shout out to my brother Zay, he's the best. Shout out to John, and shout out to my mom, and shout out to Pops. That's basically it. Oh, and shout out to QC. I haven't seen him in a long time. He's still working where he's at. So shout out to QC.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, I agree. And listen, I'm going to say, as your mom, I'm going to go ahead and venture to say, as an employee of the Misfit, I want to shout out, like you said, Uncle Boom, Miss Charlie. Every time Alex drops something, she is very literally the first person in line. Her and Uncle Boom fight for number one spot of being the first one in line. And the girls, who selflessly come out to help promote. She's always like, I need more business cards. Like, she needs a card. Yeah. I need business cards. Because she's handing stuff out and promoting. And then, Alex, shout out to Alex. Shout out to Alex, the founder of the Misfit, because you had a vision and you were seeing it through. You didn't give up because there was a couple of hard days or things didn't go your way or whatever. You powered through those hard times, even if that meant I just need to take a break for a little bit and then reset. You knew to do that. You were in tune enough with yourself to do that, to realize I need a mental reset, which I think is also important for all entrepreneurs, business owners to know and to do. Take a break, because your freshest mind is when the best things come out, right? The output is amazing when your mind is fresh and you have relaxed and you've walked away sometimes, right? Like, I can sit in front of a computer 9-10 hours a day doing my work, and there's something I can't find. I'm looking for something. I can't figure out why something not happening. I get up and walk away, 15 minutes, come back, boom, right there. Yeah. And it's the same thing. So shout out to you for being in tune with yourself, to know when it's time to take a little break and come back. Because every time you've done that, you come back so freaking strong. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. So yes, right now we've got the Misfit LLC.net. Mm-hmm. Scroll across the bottom of the screen for those who are watching. Again, for those who are listening, that's the Misfit LLC.net, all one word. That's Alex's website. How can folks follow you and keep up to date with the stuff you got going on?
It's at the Misfit LLC everywhere else. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube. I'm going to be posting some YouTube videos soon. Right now, I just got up shorts. But yeah, that's it.
At the Misfit LLC. Yep. Don't forget the LLC. All right? At the Misfit LLC, and the website, again, scroll at the bottom of the screen, the misfitllc.net, not .com, .net. Make sure you tune in, check out what Alex has got going on, and check them out. This brother's doing things, and we want to support our young entrepreneurs, whether that's monetarily, support, shout outs, whatever it is, make sure that you are reaching out and getting the word out there. Now, Alex, one thing that I like to ask everyone before we close out the show is if you have any famous quotes or anything that you want to share that you feel like that's the thing that keeps you going.
Any quotes? Let me think. There's definitely some. Probably I'll go with one of my favorite people right now, Alex Hormozzi. It's a really simple quote. This is what hard feels like. So whenever you feel like you want to stop doing something because it's hard, remember that was the entire point. The hard work or whatever you're doing, when it makes you want to stop, you have to remember you knew that it was going to be hard, and this is what hard feels like. Like I said earlier in the episode, that's where the business grows, in the frustrating parts and the super boring parts when you're about to fall asleep at the computer or the notepad. That's the whole point. This is what hard feels like.
I love that. That's awesome. Alex will definitely be back again because, like I said, not only is he blood family, he's family to Life Uncensored. Alex, thank you so much for today. Thank you for some of these gems that you dropped, some of this encouragement and advice that you have given not only young entrepreneurs, but anybody who's thinking about jumping out there and venturing into the entrepreneurial world. I think this was great, and I think we got some good information out to the masses. All right, Alex, I'm gonna have you sit tight with me while I close out the show.
Life Uncensored, navigating adulthood one episode at a time. We're available on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You can also check us out on our website, life-uncensored.com. Come on over and see what you've been missing.